Okay, we're back again for the second video, for the second part. Okay, now as I was explaining in the first part, I was saying if for instance the user entered the first number to be as such and the second number to be this, we said don't have the same length, so we cannot add them in using the arrays. We have to fill up the second array with the neutral value of addition, which is what, zeros, until they have the same length. Likewise, if it is that the user enters, let me say, the upper number to be something of this nature, we will need to add zeros to fill it up to have the same length as the one above. Now how do we achieve that? The first thing is that we'll simply come here, we'll create a certain function, a method, a procedure. So we'll call a procedure, let us call it procedure. Let's comment procedure to render both character arrays to be equal. So we are going to call it what, equalize underscore char underscore array. Now it's going to take into as parameter 2 pointers, that is going to accept two arrays of type string now. So here we also have the char star b. So now from this point we are simply going to say that what, okay, we simply say int I, this will be our counter, and we say int x. X will simply take the length of the first array A, and y is going to take what, the length of the second array. So string length of b. Now we simply say if x is greater than y, then what do? We say for I equals to what? Equals to y semicolon, I less than x semicolon I plus plus. What do? We simply say b of I is assigned the letter 0. Else, what do? Else, it means it's the reverse. It means that instead y that is greater, that is the length of the array b is greater than that of array A. So if that is true, else we instead have from x to y, and here will be A. So now we have to test to see that this will work actually. So we are going to call this our function equalize, and we are going to pass the parameter a comma b. Then now we are going to print the result of the two arrays. Resulting arrays. So we start, we say for int for I equals to 0 semicolon I less than the string length of this function string length, just to get the length of the number of characters found in the array. So we'll go to I plus plus, we simply say printf. We say for instance we are going to copy this out and say A. We say array A, say new, so we should just be sure of what we're writing, of the result. We say comma A of I. Then now we are simply going to copy at the end of this, we'll simply copy this and paste it, and simply do a \n new array of b. Then since now they have the same length, so we can leave the string length of A. So if we run it, we enter 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, we enter the second one 1 2 3, we press enter. We actually see that array A and array B now has been filled. You see array B now has been completed with the zeros, and this array A. So it means that we have succeeded. Let's do the reverse now. Let's try and fill. Let me say array A with some random number, and then array B should be greater than array A. And let's test. We actually see that, oh, we see we have 2 extra characters. So I think that we have to make a small condition. So let me just do something. I will just say comma length assign 0. I will say if what, if string length of A is greater than, let me string length of B, string length of B, therefore length is assigned string length of A, else length is assigned string length of B instead. So now from here we are going to pass by the variable length and not the string length of this paper. Step as the length. So now if we run back our program, we test 1 2 3, enter and put a longer number here. We enter, we notice that it fills up the top array with no problem now. And let's try the reverse. 1 2 3, enter long number, enter this, and we see it fills it up with no problem. So now this one step that will be crossed with no problem. So we are going to continue now the next part. The next part will be to create a function that is going to do what? It's going to initialize. So let's go to our PowerPoint and say the function is to do what? Function to create an array of a certain length. So the function is going to create us arrays. So we will say function to create arrays, or array to create decimal array of certain length. So we'll call the function cannot create an, let's call it int. We'll return an array, so that's why we'll put a star. Say create underscore array. So his goal is to do what? He's going to create an array. He's going to take this into parameter. He's going to take the char into parameter, or he's going to take an int into parameter, that's the length, and he's now going to create an array. So say int dollar, we'll call it num, and says assign what. Now since we are doing, we'll do dynamic memory allocation, so we use the malloc function, and we're trying to create an array of integers from which we are going to transfer all our characters into this array. So we say malloc size of what? Int times this size of int only give for the size of only one integer, but now an array that can support L integers, so we'll do times L. So this is going to create an array of size L. So now we can simply say return num. So now to create our two arrays that we're going to use, we're going to say okay, we're going to simply come at this point in time. After calling the function initialize, we say function calling function to make char array to have same size. So we'll call that method, that procedure. Now we're going to call our function, since we need to create. So we'll simply create a simple pointer. Here will be called int of we'll call the number num1. We'll call it number 1, and we'll be assigned the function create array. We assign the function create array of which size? Of size length, since it is length that is actually having the size of our table. So we'll create again num2 we say create underscore array of size length. So you ask yourself, why could we not actually just simply create here and create and say here and put length? The problem is that the question precise that we have to create an array. If we see at this level, they say the first function, a function which creates and initialize a number array of a certain length. So it creates an array of a certain length. So that's a little bit the first step. They even say initialize it. So let's try and initialize it. We'll say for, we'll create our counter int I equals to 0, and we'll simply say for what? For I equals to what? 0 semicolon I less than L, less than the length semicolon I plus plus. We'll simply say our array, that num of I will be simply assigned, let us say, will be assigned 0 just to initialize our array. So at this point, initializing newly created array. So now the next step would be to do what? The next step we will have to do what? Write a function that converts an array numbers into decimal numbers. So we'll write an array that is going to convert what? That is going to convert an write the function that is going to convert a char array into a decimal array now. So we say function to convert a char array to decimal array. So now we simply say the function has to return a decimal array. So that's why we use the int. We say convert underscore char to decimal underscore array. So now it's going to take two parameters. The first one, it will be the first one will simply be an array of characters, and then now the second one will be our array of integers. So num, and we take the length of the char character. So now how do we do the conversion? We will simply write a function. We simply come with a function to convert a character to integer. So we'll call that function, let's say you have to take an int, convert char to underscore int. So here is going to take what? A character as parameter. So we'll call that char character x, and we'll simply use the switch case. We say switch x. Now we'll use the first case. We say case, for case 0, we simply say what? Return, or let's create a certain variable called int r. I will simply say for case 0, we simply say r is simply assign the number 0, and then we do what? We do a break. So we are going to do likewise for 0 to 9. So we are going to do this for 1, this for 1, character 1, r takes 1, character 2. Let me just put pause and then fill it a little bit as fast as possible. Okay, now what I've been done is that I would simply took every character that is found, every character that is from 0, we assign array to 0, 1, character 1 assigned to integer 1, 2, 3 corresponding up to what? 9. And then now we say default, in case the person enters something, let me say a plus sign, a minus, an additional sign, or anything, or a character A, B, C, this way will catch it and simply say -1. We tell him that okay, it cannot work. So now we are going to call this our function char of int. we simply come here at this level, we say for, since we have now to look through the character array, say int I equals to 0, we say for int I equals to 0, semicolon I less than what, less than length, semicolon I plus plus. What do? We simply say num of I is assigned, num of I is simply assigned convert of char of s of I. So at the end of this, we'll have a number array of integers. So this is what this function is going to do. Okay, now after writing the function that converts all of this, we're now going to simply try to test our code. If we run the code, it shows us an error, and the error we see is because we did not put the data type of length. If we run again, we're going to see it works. But now there's an error that I've seen again at this point. We see our function create array. If we come here, the function create array returns a pointer. So we have to come back at this point in time and change it to what? To a pointer. So now we have to test to see whether it actually creates our array and convert. Let's try to test our convert char to decimal method. So let's copy this method and try to pass an array of characters for it to convert to an array of integers. And by testing, we'll simply test by saying, let's put a printf and we'll say resulting array. You can put a \n to make it neat, \n, and then we'll say for I equals to 0, semicolon I less than length, semicolon I plus plus. We come into the array and say printf, say percentage d, say comma. Now we'll call our method the call num method, and we'll assign it, let us say, to the first array to see whether it actually converts the first array. So now here we're passing an array of characters, which is what? Character A that want to, because num1 has to store the first input of the user. So now here we have to pass the array, which is num1, and we have to pass the learned, which is actually learned. Okay, now we end with a semicolon, and we come and simply pass num1 of I, num1 of I mean to say, sorry. So if we try and run now our program, we enter a long number, we enter 1 2 3 4, let's say not equal number, and we check. You see that actually now it returns us an array of integer. So meanwhile we enter an array of string, we have been able to convert to an array of integer. So that's one of the steps that was succeeded. Let's also try and run instead array number 2, array 2. So it means we are going to pass the value b here instead, and we are going to print num2 of I. So if we run this, that problem that we try to solve, let's see whether it solve it, and we see it has filled it to 0 until converted to an array of integers. It means our program is working perfectly. So we are going to stop it for the moment, and then we'll try to do another video to avoid too long videos.